Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Senior Master Sergeant LeVar Jordan. I want to stop and take you back to a time when you used to think about what you were going to do right before you graduated high school. Some of you I know had ambitions of going to college. Some of you I know wanted to go work for your families. And some had aspirations to join the military. I was one of those individuals in that last category of joining the military. I had ambitions. I had dreams. And I had goals. I just didn't know how I was going to pay for college. So 25 years ago, I was a handsome man, still handsome. But I had ambitions of going somewhere. Just wasn't sure quite where I was going to go. Fortunately for me, I landed one of the most rewarding career fields that I could have ever imagined of having in the United States Air Force. A member of the Aeromedical Evacuation System. Yeah, 25 years later, I lost a little bit of hair, may have put on a few pounds. However, still sexy. But that Aeromedical Evacuation System has taken me to places and shown me things that I really cannot complain ever about. Today I want to tell you about this Aeromedical Evacuation System that I work in. The history of the Aeromedical Evacuation System, how today's Aeromedical Evacuation System brings home that wounded warrior, how to become a member of this Aeromedical Evacuation System team of elite professionals, of medical nurses and emergency medical technicians. And finally, why I find this such a rewarding career field. So let's take it back to 25 years ago. Me as a child, can you imagine my parents getting a phone call saying that I was injured? Imagine you're a child. Imagine you getting a phone call saying that your child was injured from a deployment. How does that individual get back to you safe and alive? It goes back as far as 1870. In the 1870s, the French started to move patients via hot air balloons. Hot air balloons, back then in the 1914s, World War I, they launched about 66 balloons to take care of about 160 patients. 160 Frenchmen to try and take them from the front lines back to safety. The unfortunate thing is, the survivability rate back then was only 8.5%. That actually meant, like, out of 100 troops, only 8 to 9 made it. It wasn't until 1918 that the first aeromedical evacuation flight came into existence. This is the Curtiss JN-4. This is the first aircraft that the United States used to move patients. Unfortunately, this can only have enough space for one pilot, 2 Stokes litters, and 1 emergency medical technician. It wasn't until one of the pioneers by the name of Loretta M. Schimholder in 1930s was flying across the Ohio countryside and initiated the concept of flight nursing. Unfortunately, this concept didn't take on very well back then. However, over the years, as more wars have occurred, as more patients came into the system, and more wounded individuals had to be moved, aircraft started to take care of more and more patient movements. There are more troops to move, therefore aircraft are now getting configured for patient movement. This is what it used to look back in the 1940s. Not too far ago. Aircraft were configured with litters, nurses, technician, bringing back that wounded warrior, bringing back that soldier. That soldier knew that going to the fight, there's somebody available to bring me home, and to bring me home alive. 1944, in comes a helicopter. British soldiers on board a United States Army Air Force aircraft were shot down. A courageous pilot by the name of Lieutenant Carter, a pilot of a 4B aircraft, depicted in this photo right here, made about 4 trips to take care of all those individuals. It was during the Korean War. However, unfortunately, he only had enough space for 1 pilot and 1 passenger. The trips that he made were continuous, making sure that he could bring back those wounded warriors. This is kind of familiar if you go back during the times, if you're at least my age, the TV show MASH, as it comes on, dun 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 dun. You see helicopters bringing in those patients, those wounded warriors. MASH actually stood for Mobile Army Staging Hospital, which is where they would go to have their first surgical intervention. However, over the years, more individuals are injured. More wounded warriors are taken care of. However, as they're taken care of, the aeromedical evacuation system as a whole becomes a complex system. However, the individuals in this system, albeit a complex group, they all have one goal. That goal is to bring back the wounded warrior. It starts at the time of injury. Self-aid buddy care, which is the first step. Self-aid buddy care is when you or your wingman or your buddy performs life-saving treatments. You're then taken back to your forward operating location, where you might have whatever medical and or surgical interventions that you need to have to take care of you. Next step, they medevac you out. Medevac, as shown on this UH-64 Army helicopter, they take you to another location if you need more definitive care. After you come off that helicopter, you'll go to a Mobile Army Staging Facility until an aircraft comes in. An aircraft such as the C-130. C-130 that can land on dirt airstrips can take about 72 litter patients. This is what I fly on when I take care of patients. You can have about 72 litter patients or 92 ambulatory patients. Ambulatory patients are patients that can actually walk, or a combination thereof. If you don't see me on the C-130, then you'll see me on the C-17. C-17 can also land on dirt runways, but it can only take care of about 36 litter patients, but up to 90 ambulatory patients. This does have a longer range of the C-130. Another aircraft that I fly on is the KC-135. The KC-135 also has a long range, but can't land on dirt runways. So here's a scenario. You're wounded in Afghanistan or Iraq. Your buddy or you treat any life-threatening issues with self-aid buddy care. You're then medevaced out via helicopter, taken back to your forward operating base. You have surgery and you're in need of more care. And then one of these three planes, C-130, C-17, or KC-135, takes you out of Iraq to Germany. And if you need more care, we'll have another plane fly you back to the States, back to our hospital for additional treatment. Seems like a simple concept. However, there's a lot of moving parts. But the survivability rate from back in World War I to today has increased from 8.5% to 98%. That's a long way since the French's hot air balloons. In this system, there are about 31 aeromedical evacuation squadrons. There are about 4 active duty squadrons, 19 reserve squadrons, and 18 National Guard squadrons. These squadrons are strategically placed all over the world, from Japan, Germany, and then the continental United States, East Coast, New Jersey, to the West Coast, California. On board these aircraft are aeromedical evacuation crew members. A typical aeromedical evacuation crew consists of about 5 individuals, 2 nurses and 3 emergency medical technicians. These are the men and women who take care of anyone flying on aircraft as you're going from one destination to another. This is some of the equipment and what it looks like on the aircraft as we're taking care of some of these patients. A lot of the equipment that you see in these pictures are flight approved. They're quite similar to what you would see in a normal hospital. A normal hospital such as IVs, defibrillators, suctions. This is what we bring on board the aircraft along with a whole myriad of bandages. As seen in this picture here on the C-17, this young man is taking the blood pressure and or pulse, a very important vital sign that we need to pay attention to on board the aircraft. This individual is potentially about to be intubated, so we can attach him to a vent and breathe for him while he's on the aircraft. If we have the need for more definitive care, more critical patients, we also have surgical teams that we bring with us on board this aircraft. Surgical teams, similar to any other operating room, minus the environment of not flying up in the air with a scalpel in your hand, as the plane's bouncing left and right due to turbulence or whatever. These individuals are the individuals that treat that patient, that take care of that patient, for the simple fact that we want to make sure that this wounded warrior gets back home alive. As you can see in this picture here, a surgeon about to do a procedure on a patient, as you have other patients, all the equipment in place, focuses on that patient for the simple fact of, I want to bring this patient back alive, I want to bring this patient back home, and I want to bring this patient back safely. So, way back in World War I, to Operation Enduring Freedom, it used to take about 3 weeks to bring patients back. Now, with all these different aircraft, all these different elements of the aeromedical evacuation system, it takes us 48 to 72 hours to bring you back to the United States for more definitive care. A patient moves back from the battlefield to the United States without even knowing where they were, depending on the situation of the patient, as to where they are in the world, because all they see are inside of aircraft, back and forth. A typical deployment for us, as we get our individuals ready for deployment, lasts about 4 to 6 months. 4 to 6 months of take care of patients is absolutely nothing to take care of that wounded warrior. Each squadron rotates at about a 20-month cycle. Prior to deployment, individuals must be fully qualified. In order for someone to be trained in the aeromedical evacuation system, it takes about 18 to 24 months. That's a lot of training that we put you through, but that training is worth it to take care of that patient. All nurses must have a Bachelor of Science in Nursing. All medical technicians must be nationally registered EMTs. Fortunately, the turnover rate for the aeromedical evacuation system and the crew members is very, very low. Military members can stay in the service for up to 33 years. And most of the AE crew members do. Since the Guard and Reserves have more of the aeromedical evacuation squadron, we take care of about 88% of all patients moving within the aeromedical evacuation squadron. We don't stay in this career field for money. I don't think anyone in the military stays for money. We stay because of the next wingmen. And we stay to bring our fighting soldiers back home to join back up with their families. We want them to be able to understand that before you go to war, if you get hurt, there's somebody willing, able, and ready to take care of you. We stay to see the smiling faces of our service members. We stay to see the individuals fight for our country. We stay to see the children bonded back with their family members. We stay to preserve our way of life here in the United States. When individuals walk up to me and say, I thank you for your service, I simply return a salute and say thank you for your support. Thank you.